wanted to talk about the evolution of philosophies throughout Chinese history, and starting all the way at the beginning in the Shang dynasty, there was the Book of Documents, the Shu Jing, and how they discussed all these three emperors, Yao, Shun, and Yu, and they each contributed specific characteristics that contributed to the Chinese ideology of the ideal emperor for different reasons. Like, I would say that Yao, the first emperor, was much more, he was Confucian Taoist, I'd say. He educated his people, which is very Confucian, and he worked with his people, like, he worked to educate them. There was no, like, extreme social hierarchy. But at the same time, he was Taoist because he didn't dictate their lives. Like, he let them do what they wanted. He didn't rule over them and force his will on them. And he was much more free-spirited. And then Shun, the second emperor, was more legalist. Like, he had a more legalist view because he wanted a more structured form of government, and that's what he did. And Yu was Confucian, definitely Confucian, because he believed that respect and reverence and ritual were the most important things, and that a man should be educated and he should make his own decisions based on his beliefs of what was right and wrong. And this was all very Confucian looking back, because we learned about Confucianism after we learned about the three ancient emperors. So it's really interesting to go back and see how the philosophies kind of, they can be applied to these emperors, these ancient emperors, in the Book of Documents, like the book. So, going more in depth to Confucianism, there was the idea of filial piety and respect to your parents, mutual respect to your parents and elders, and the belief of being educated was important, but you should have your own, you should want to be educated. You shouldn't be educated because you have to, and that you shouldn't want material goods. Like, you should just you should be satisfied with the basic needs, your basic necessities, like what you don't want material goods, as long as you get what you need to survive, and you go into ritual, and you surround yourself with ritual, and that should be satisfying for a man. But if you want, like businessmen nowadays who just keep wanting, they work, but they're looking for rewards. They want material goods and material possessions and money. That would put you on the lowest in Confucianism view, that you're the lowest of the social hierarchy, like that there's no social hierarchy, I guess. That's actually kind of incorrect. There was no hierarchy. It was just that it was frowned upon. You shouldn't, in Confucian view, that's just, you shouldn't want material possessions. Like, I have a quote here in the Analects of Confucius, Analect 2.3. The master said, Confucius said, lead them by political maneuvers, restrain them with punishments, the people will become cunning and shameless. Lead them by virtue, restrain them with ritual, they will develop a sense of shame and a sense of participation. So that brings us back to that whole shame aspect, about how you don't want to shame your family name, you don't want to shame your parents, you want to make them proud, and that whole lingering above your head, if I do something wrong, it will reflect upon my whole family. That influenced people to be the best that they could be. And going, I guess I'll move on to the Zhou, like the Western Zhou dynasty, and there was the whole Shangdi, the high god belief as well, about the nature god and how talking to your ancestors is like talking to Shangdi. But it was like the golden age. There was stable political order, ritual intensified, Confucian, like it didn't flourish, but it was a good age for Confucianism. Like it was alive, it was in practice, it was accepted, not by everyone, but that's where it kind of started. It started to bloom. But then there was the Warring States period, and Confucianism kind of started. Ritual wasn't the main focus at that time. There was war. It was war, so Confucianism wasn't as important as it was before. But it was brought back by Emperor Han Wudi, the sixth emperor of the Han dynasty, and he brought Confucianism back. He made the Confucianism civil service exam, and what was it? He was a peasant, I believe. No, that was Liu Bang. Disregard that. But it was interesting because he so much wanted to bring Confucianism back. He did, because he believed that it would bring, like, there was purpose in the ritual. Like there was a point to the ritual. Like the Confucianism was a valid philosophy that he believed in, and it came back. And then again, we had the period of disunity, so another dynasty and like time period of war, and not war, but disunity. So their ritual and philosophies weren't at its peak, but at the end of the POD, at the end of the period of disunity, Confucianism, Taoism, they survived. Like, the people were forced to move south because these badass men on horseback had invaded their sacred Yellow River, and they migrated south. Like, they became nomads themselves, and they were forced to move south. And despite all this, despite the 40 years or whatever it was for a period of disunity, these two philosophies survived, and like they flourished. They've become Confucianism today in Chinese society today is so it's still in effect, it's still in use, it's still being practiced even after these thousands of years, and it's still being used today. But I feel so bad because Confucius went to his grave thinking that he was a failure, like he failed his spiritual political mission because it wasn't, no emperor at the time fully accepted this philosophy. No one was willing to, instead of bear arms, just surround themselves with ritual. No one wanted to do that. No emperor accepted this. And that was, Confucius was trying to spread his political mission. He was trying to spread his philosophy. But he went to his grave because he went to his grave thinking that he failed, that his ideology wouldn't be accepted, that his philosophy he was dying with him. Only a couple of his students that studied under him would continue on his ideas. But the reality is, it wasn't a failure. It's still in use today, and I find that fascinating. And the whole history behind it, like, I could go on and on about it, but I'm already at 10 minutes, so I think I'll restrain myself. But this is what I take out of this course, this History of China course, this is probably the most memorable thing that I will remember and take with me in life.